Well, so before the world knew you as Dr. Drew, you were treating AIDS patients, and then you got into treating some celebrities. How did that transition happen?
I was a resident during the time when the AIDS epidemic was roaring, and so
Okay.
I was treating a lot of AIDS patients, and I was asked to be on a radio show, and I thought, oh my God, yes, we got to talk about AIDS, because no one was talking to young people about it, and it was weird. I got up there, and no one was talking about safe sex or how AIDS was transmitted. They didn't even know about it. And I thought, I got to keep doing it. I got to keep coming back and doing radio just to talk about it. And they let me come back once a week. I thought I was doing community service. I did that for 10 years on Sunday night just because it was fun and different, and I really thought I was helping educate about things like AIDS.
Sure.
And all of a sudden, I went to 5 nights a week. And then all of a sudden, some TV guys came along and wanted to make a TV show out of it. And that's sort of how it went. And I the whole time was like, huh, TV? How do you do that? I guess I'll try that, I guess.
Well, it worked out well for you.
It turned out so far so good, but there was never like some plan afoot. There's no blueprint. It was just sort of just kind of following things instinctively.
So if my parents are watching right now, they're going to learn something about me that I hid from them for a long time. I used to, when I was a little girl, listen to Loveline in my bedroom. I would have headphones in, or I'd kind of go underneath the blankets to listen to you on Loveline.
My little girl, I'm feeling your parents' dread. I'm hoping you mean like 14,
I was
15.
Probably, yeah,
Okay,
I was probably in high. Yeah, I was in high school for sure. When I was just, first starting to learn about things, and I learned a lot from your show. How did you and Adam Carolla get together?
I'd done it with other people over the years, and when those TV guys showed up, I was like, all right, let's go do TV. But I was doing it with Ricky Rackman at the time. I remember him from Headbangers Ball on MTV. And he was like, no, I'm gonna need a better deal. And I was like, I don't know. And he couldn't make a deal. And people turned to me and went, who do you want to do the show? And I was sort of aware of Adam because he did a character you may know now from Crank Yankers called Mr. Burcham. He would do it in the morning show, and I thought, I bet that guy could do it. I was running one day, and it sort of occurred to me that, and lo and behold, we did a screen test. People seemed to like it. They put us in a makeup booth on a Saturday morning, and they go, "You guys work out your relationship. We'll be filming in an hour." And I was like, "That was it. That was the Adam and Drew relationship. It never changed. It never changed past that hour." But it was interesting. We filmed like 11 hours that day. It was for a pilot. And at the end of the day, I remember our stage manager came up to us and went, "How many years you guys been working together?" And we were like, "Just today. This is it."
Oh, that's great. So. Instant chemistry.
Yep.
You guys got a lot of crazy stories, a lot of crazy questions I remember on that show. What is the craziest one that you remember?
It was a guy that called and he goes, "You guys are enlightened. It's supposed to be an open forum. How come women freak out when they find out I was in prison?" And we're like, "Well, you understand, being a ex-con, that people might have feelings about that." And we kept talking and we realized it was something about what he was in prison for.
Okay.
So what were you in prison for? Well, he goes, "Well, I broke into a mausoleum and I twisted off a head off this old lady and boiled it so my snake's aquarium would have a skull."
Boiled it?
Don't ask me. We were as outraged as you are. But he served his time.
Why was he calling Loveline?
That's my point. It's not a Loveline call, but it's certainly where I remember it.
So what advice did you give him?
That women should be kind of freaked out.
Maybe you should back off from women.
No, maybe you want to get into therapy and figure out why you can't understand why people will be freaked out about that.
Oh my. Okay, all right. Well, after Loveline, you did Celebrity Rehab, and you worked with a lot of athletes on that show. Dennis Rodman was on it, and probably the most notable. What was he like for you?
I've got a great story about Dennis. Dennis and I are friendly to this day. I just saw him a couple weeks ago. When we got into treatment with him, he had a bad alcohol problem, and he's good. He's great right now, by the way. And I just saw him literally 2 weeks ago. Okay. And he was not good, and he would read in groups. He would have these very intense groups. He'd be reading. I go, "Dennis, get into everyone's laying their heart out here. They're getting emotionally invested. You're reading. You're looking at a book." And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, we're going to have a relationship." And he was right. We eventually got one. I have one with his mom, Shirley. The guy, I feel like a real close affection for Dennis.
Okay.
Not at that point. And he goes, "We're going to have a relationship. You just be patient." He goes, "But if we're going to have one, you got to understand one thing." He goes like this. He goes, "Here's God, and here's professional athletes. And you understand that, and we'll have a good start."
Wow.
I was like, okay.
Well, what do you do with that, though? Because he does have a point, and this is always something that I think about, right? In order to be a professional athlete and one of the best in your craft, you have to have a degree of narcissism, right?
Even if you don't have it to begin with, you're going to feel kind of special, and especially, remember, these are young men and women that we're making idols out of, right?
Right.
And millionaires. So it's a deal. It's a problem.
So how do you deal with that, or is that undoable?
No, some deal and some don't. In my experience, the NBA does it better than anybody. They have a very elaborate program about life skills and about investing and about mental health. They take care. The reason you don't hear a lot about those guys is they take care of them. They will invest whatever's needed to take care of their mental health. I used to be a part of that program. I used to treat some NBA athletes. It was phenomenal. Really, hats off to them.
A lot of athletes have told me now that there is still a stigma against therapy in whatever league that they're playing in. Why do you think that is?
There's stigma everywhere against mental health, right? Number one. Number two, whenever you find a lot of machismo, you tend to not have people interested in psychotherapy. And as I've told you, the cultures of the different leagues, historically aren't exactly enlightened when it comes to this sort of thing.
See, I always think that the strongest thing a person can do is face all of their demons.
But you brought up earlier, though, they worry that it's going to affect their play, right? And that is their priority in life. I understand that. And that's why there are people that specialize just in that, and try to balance these things, and try to help build empathy and what we call affect regulation without affecting their play.
Do you feel like athletes maybe stand a better chance for going through the whole therapy process once they're retired?
Seems like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Al Harrington, he's a big supporter of athletes smoking weed or using marijuana in some form, and he's trying to get the NBA to remove it from their banned substance list.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
I mean, I'd rather have people on weed than opiates, that's for sure, no doubt about that. And of course, it's all kinds of chronic pain. The problem with saying anything about cannabis or the CRBs is that the cannabidiol is that we don't have the research yet. We can't say really anything with the clinical clarity or with scientific certainty. I mean, it's coming. We'll be able to say something soon. So I'm sure they'll have a more enlightened approach to it in the future, but it's not as though you're going to be able to use it. I mean, can you drink before a game? I mean, you know what I mean? It's just going to, there's going to be some sort of rational policy there. The idea that one molecule is good and one molecule is bad, alcohol is good and cannabis is bad, that's insanity.
Yeah.
So hopefully there'll be a more enlightened policy in the future.
There are athletes who wind up struggling, though, with opioids because they are using them from injuries.
All the time.
What's the solution to that?
Well, the real problem with opiates is they are for acute pain. They're not good for chronic pain. They make chronic pain worse, which is why we're trying to get everybody with chronic pain off opiates and onto something else. So, if you break your ankle in the middle of a game and you have to take something, of course, you take opiates. But staying on them for weeks and weeks, that's only going to perpetuate things. So it's a complicated process, particularly for an athlete. What do you take them off? How do you manage that? But opioids are not the answer.